Hello everyone, welcome to another Flesh and Blood video. In this one, we're going to be taking a look at Katsu the Wanderer once again to see if the Hunted will finally make him playable again, thanks to the new card, Retrace the Past. But with all that, let's get started with the video. Katsu the Wanderer, as some of you may know, is one of my favorite heroes in Flesh and Blood, and sadly he has not been playable for a very long time, mainly because Zen got all of his good cards banned and made him absolutely unplayable. But in Rosetta, he received Gustwave of the Second Wind, a card that is not very good. However, now with Retrace the Past, it probably has a shot to be pretty decent, and it's more of the sideshow to Retrace the Past, which of course comes out in The Hunted. I'm not going to read Katsu's ability here because he's pretty old. A lot of you may know it already, but I'll just brief explanation. When you hit with an attack action for the first time, you can discard a 0-cost card to search for a card with combo, and you can play it that turn. So it allows you to guarantee that you get the combo you need to finish up your turn or go through your entire turn. Mask of Momentum is Katsu's main headpiece, this alongside of Harmonized Kadachi's his main weapon. And any good breakpoint attack just threatens so much pressure on your opponent. Katsu is a deck that gets to play with his cards very well, and the fact that he has an equipment that threatens a card draw literally every turn is insanely powerful. We already talked about the Kadachis. These are his premier weapon. I don't see a weapon getting printed that's better for Katsu. We do have one Zephyr Needle in the sideboard, but we'll talk about that when we get to our other equipment. Other than that, Harmonized Kadachi is just going to be your premier choice because it's so good with the Mask of Momentum, which is the only helmet that we're playing. For our chess piece, since Katsu's an aggro deck, we want the Heart and Cross Strap. This is especially good in him because the one card that is pretty hard to play is Surging Strike, and it's a necessary card. So on a turn that we have maybe a 4-red hand, Heart and Cross Strap can bail us out by letting us play a free Surging Strike to start off our turn. We do have Tunic in the sideboard for games that go extremely late, but for games that are pretty fast, Heart and Cross Strap is going to be our main choice because those games we actually need to not brick, and this helps us not brick. Our gloves are breaking scales. These can be destroyed as an attack reaction to give an attack with combo +1. They also have 1 block in Battle Worn, which is pretty nice. Mainly we're using it for that attack reaction though. This makes our opponent overblock pretty much every mask trigger out there or every hit effect out there, and if they don't, you can just easily use the breaking scales and get the value from it. Breaking scales is an incredibly powerful tool just by sitting on the board, and you really don't have to use it all the time. Just it sitting there causes so much pressure. And then finally, Breeze Rider boots, because Breeze Rider boots are really good with things like Mugenshi release, and this deck has a lot more attacks with combo now, so the Breeze Rider boots letting you go a little wider is pretty nice. Moving on to the main board, we can see that we have a 54 card main board. This means that we're adding in 6 cards from the sideboard every game. Sometimes we are swapping out some cards in the main board, but we'll talk about that when we move on to the sideboarding section. Starting with the attacks, the main attack in the deck is of course Surging Strike. We are on 3 red and 3 yellow. These are just the most important attack in the deck because most of our combos come off of it. Descendant Gustwave, Whelming Gustwave, Gustwave of the Second Wind all come off of Surging Strike. Mugenshi Release and Lord of Wind. Well, not Mugenshi Release, but Lord of Wind cares about Surging Strike specifically, so something like Be Like Water isn't a direct replacement, and Retrace the Past needs all of the Gust Waves, which all care about Surging Strike. The reason we're not on blue, though, is because we want all of our blues to either block 2 or be free, and it doesn't do either. Mostly both. We do have one card in the list that doesn't block 3, but it does cost 0. It's 100 Winds, which is pretty standard, but every other blue in our deck does block 3 and is free, so we don't want to play a blue that is neither of those. But to fill in that one blue slot, we do have 3 Be Like Water. This is a head jab stat line, but on hit, we can pay a resource to make it a head jab, surging strike, or twin twisters. We're never making it a head jab in this deck. We're mainly making it the surging strike, but there is a time where it can become twin twisters. We do play spinning wheel kick, so you can have that synergy if the turn requires it, if your turn isn't like the amazing. It can be done. For the cards that follow up are Surging Strikes. Descendant Gust Wave is a 1 for 3 with base Go Again, which is really nice with Retrace the Past. This card was played a lot before because of Bonds of Ancestry, but now that that's gone, we can still use this as a chain starter to immediately go into the Retrace the Past instead of having to do a Surging Strike into another Gust Wave, so I think it being at 3 copies is pretty good. Of course, we have our main Whelming Gust Waves. We're on 3 red and 3 blue. The blue because it's a free blue block 3, which Katsu loves. And the red because it's a 0 for 4 with an on hit to draw a card when we combo it, which is incredibly powerful. Gust Wave of the Second Wind is just always a 0 for 4, but it gains Go Again if Surging Strike was the last thing. This sort of fits the Fluster Fist role. Of course, we're still on Fluster Fist because we can actually turn it on with the Retrace the Past. But Gust Wave of the Second Wind is, for most intensive purposes, a better Fluster Fist, since it has the ability to gain Go Again more often than Fluster Fist can gain its Salt the Wound combo effect. And now let's talk about our after Gust Wave things. What do we want to do after our Gust Waves? The main one we've been talking about all video is Retrace the Past. This is the brand new Katsu specialization from the Hunted. It's a 0 cost blue block 3 with 2 base power and says, when this attacks, if a card with Gust Wave in its name was the last attack this combat chain, name a card, then this gets that name plus 2 power and Go Again. A new ruling coming out in the Hunted allows you to name cards that are not legal in the format, which means cards like Dishonor can still work if we name Bonds of Ancestry with Retrace the Past. Another thing this lets us do is activate combos that normally wouldn't be in our deck. The only one that actually can come up a lot of the time is something like Fluster Fist becoming a 0 for 4 Salt the Wound. Or we can use it with some of the, which is a combo we're already playing, or we use it with Spinning Wheel Kick, 100 Winds, Winds of Eternity, those lines, because we're already playing those, same as we were already playing the Fluster Fist before just because it was a good card. You can play other combo lines if you want, but I think that might take up too much space in the deck. I'd rather prefer to just play the combo lines we were already playing and just slot in the Retrace the Past as a good extender, because this is an incredible extender. You can even turn this into a Surging Strike because it doesn't have to be a card with combo. So you can immediately go into another Gust Wave if you wanted to. So this card's incredibly powerful. Lets you, it's a blue 0 for 4. That's incredibly strong. The other one that we're going to be playing after our Gust Waves is Mugenshi Release. We're only on 2 of it, just because we don't need the most copies of Mugenshi Release. We are on a 3rd one in the sideboard, but that is going to be for matchups that are going to be a little slower, try to fatigue us. Or possibly matchups we need to Hyper Burst and get our Breeze Rider Boots combo off as fast as possible. Lord of Wind is our main finisher, I guess, for those really long games. It lets us shuffle in all of our key cards from our graveyard if we can actually get it off in the late game, which if we can get it off, we're going to win most likely, just because we're putting more Surging Strikes, more Gust Waves, maybe even another Mugenshi back in our deck. And it's coming in for 8, most of the time 8. So incredibly powerful card. Or if we are going for the kill with a wide turn, we can use Breeze Rider Boots. Because these all have combo, we can break the Breeze Rider Boots on the Mugenshi Release hit, and then throw out 3 2-power Lord of Winds to have an extremely wide turn. So very flexible card. Really nice. Again, blue block 3. Perfect 3 of inside of Katsu. The last card, a part of the Surging Strike combo line, is Dishonor. This is a 0-cost blue block 3, where if Bonds of Ancestry was the last attack in the combat chain, it gets +2. And on hero hit, if you control a Surging Strike, Descendant Gust Wave, and Bonds of Ancestry, the hero you hit loses all abilities for the rest of the game. Hero abilities are incredibly important right now in Flesh and Blood, and shutting it off for the entire game is so powerful. This card used to not be able to be activated because Bonds of Ancestry was banned, but now that we have retraced the past, we can finally activate Dishonor again, allowing Katsu to do the thing that they gave him in Outsiders and was his main jam until Bonds actually got banned. Finally, for attacks, we have a few combo lines left and just one other standalone attack. Our first combo line is just Spinning Wheel Kick. Technically, it's a line all by itself. We're not playing anything that goes past the Spinning Wheel Kick, no Cyclone Roundhouse, but just as a 1-for-4 go again is really good. It has combo, so it has some combo synergies with Breaking Scales if you need to pump it over, and it's just consistent. Sometimes it goes on the bottom of our deck and comes in for 5, but those don't happen too often. We are on 3 red and 2 blue 100 wins alongside 3 blue Winds of Eternity. Obviously, if this card's only blue, it's an M. But we're on the 500 wins and 3 Winds of Eternity because Winds blocks 3, so we can easily defend with it. As well as it has 2 power for another card we'll talk about in a second. But 100 wins is going to be the main thing. We can turn Retrace the Past into 100 wins, which means we can actually combo the 100 wins, or even shuffle them into our deck with Winds of Eternity, which is good to recycle to Retrace the Past so we can play more than 3 in a game. The last combo card in our deck is Flusterfist, which we already talked about a lot. It's a 0-for-4. We used to play it a lot in Bonds of Ancestry because it was an easy tutor target. But with this deck, because of Retrace the Past, we can actually turn on its combo, making it into a Salt the Wound, which is so powerful. A double base power Salt the Wound is really, really strong. The last attack in the deck is 3 copies of Enlightened Strike, just because it's an incredibly powerful Katsu card. It can come in for 5, give us an arsenal. It can come in for 5 with Go Again, or it can just come in for 7 if we have a 2-card hand. Really good. This Katsu list only plays 2 cards that are not attacks. Yes, there are no copies of Ancestral Harmony in this deck because there are a lot of things that are not combos. All of your starters, be like Water Surging Strike, not combo. Even bigger than that in Ancestral Empowerment, the 2 other non-attacks we're playing aren't combo. Yes, the rest of the deck is combo, but that's 15, would be 18, I guess 17 in your deck if you only draw that Ancestral. So that's a little less than a third of your deck, which is still a chance you could just brick and lose, and that's pretty bad. So I prefer not to play it personally, but I think there will be lists that do try and play it. But for the not attack cards that we are actually playing in our list, Ancestral Empowerment is a key one. It gives any ninja attack action +1 and we draw a card, making it an easy effect to replace itself. Most of the cards in the deck are free. The only ones that aren't are our Spinning Wheels, Surging Strike, Mugenshis, and Descendants, which are all key cards that we want to be playing. I think I said Spinning Wheel there as well. I don't remember. So, yes, if you draw them, then discard a Katsu. It would hurt you, but you could always discard this to Katsu. It also blocks 3 and lets you get your hit effects through. That's the main thing with this. It's one of the best ways to land a hit with Be Like Water because they'll either block 3 and lose to the Ancestral Empowerment, or they'll overblock and you'll just do something else, which is really strong. Sadly, can't be played on E-Strike, but that's okay. The last one in the deck is even bigger than that. This is a 0-cost instant that can only be played if we've dealt physical damage this turn, and it lets us opt 3 and reveal the top card of our deck. If its power is greater than the amount of damage we've done this turn, we make a Quicken token and draw a card. The really good thing about even bigger than that is it's super easy to play thanks to Harmonized Kodachis. Coming in for 1 with the Harmonized Kodachi is the minimum number that allows us to play even bigger than that. And if you'll notice, every attack in the deck, apart from our blue Whelming Gust Waves and blue 100 Winds, has 2 power, which Blue Whelming Gustwave and Blue Hundred Winds are probably cards we're pitching away, or cards that we don't really even want off the even bigger than that anyway. So getting literally any other attack in our deck is incredibly powerful. This amount of attacks kind of guarantees that we see something off of the even bigger than that. Even if we have to put 3 to the bottom, we'd still have only 2 not hits left in our deck. And if, hey, we had 3 even bigger than that and 3 ancestrals on the top, that kind of sucks. I'm going to be honest, but oh well. It gives you a quicken as well, so if you do end up grabbing something like a Gustwave of Second Wind or a Flusterfist, you can start with it, as well as even an E-Strike, letting you draw a card or make it 7 while still having that go again. Really good. You can, if you needed to swing with double Kodachi, you can even do it in reactions or in response to the second Kodachi swing. Before you do the damage, you still only check for that 1 value without using the Quicken token on the other Kodachi. An incredibly flexible card, one of the best Katsu cards out there. Really strong in this deck, especially because you're looking for those key pieces like Retrace the Past and the Surging Strikes. Also, it's free, so if we did need to discard it to Katsu's ability, we can. Moving on to the inventory, starting off with the equipment. I've already talked about it a little bit, but Tunic is going to come in versus our super late matchups just because it can give us a little more value than the Heart and Cross Strap. We have 1 Zephyr Needle for our very aggressive matchups because they don't want to take the time to destroy it. And in those matchups, we want to be playing our actual meaty attacks to get damage through rather than swinging our weapon anyway. So the needle is just something to, make our opponent want to block it or get just double Kodachi damage through. The last equipment in the deck are 3 Arcane Barrier, Tide Flippers because they're the only base ninja one, Arcane Lantern because if you're swinging double Kodachi into Kano, you're probably not having a good time, so you don't need to play 2 weapons into them. And then Northern Robe, because I'd rather keep Mask of Momentum and my Breaking Scales versus Kano, because they're really good. So Northern Robe kind of fits, even though, yes, Heart and Cross Strap gives you 2 extra resource. If they see you pop it and they're planning on killing you, they're probably just going to kill you in response. And you might have to pitch away that red Surging Strike you wanted to play. Although you could play No Rune Gloves if you wanted to instead. It is a choice up to you, and into AB1 needed matchups, you're just going to play Tide Flippers because they're still pretty usable. They can give 1 Lord of Wind go again, or they can give, I don't know, a Wind's Return go. If you need to play it, if you need to activate it on one of your blues, you can, but it's just some go again, which is it's still usable, which is pretty nice. The rest of the board consists of some D-Reacts, 3 Flick Flack, and 3 Sink Below. These will come in versus matchups. You need to be a little more defensive. Matchups, you don't need any of your other things. Like if there's a matchup, you don't need the Razor Mugenshi or the Warmongers. Maybe you bring in 3 D-Reacts and the 3 CNC. Or maybe if it's a matchup, you don't need any of them. Like a very aggressive matchup that wouldn't want to keep an arsenal, you'd probably just want to bring in 6 D-Reacts and be fine with it. You can also go more than 60 with the D-Reacts. They are free, so you can easily discard them. 3 CNC, play any CNC adjacent card you want. You just want something disruptive that's also a popper. You can play into Prism. This card's just powerful. That's plain and simple. I'm not going to explain any of the other replacements because they're all playable if you really if you really wanted to. You can play Weakest Link, you can play any of them. Really, doesn't matter. CNC is just the best one, though. 3 Warmongers Diplomacy for matchups that we'd want Warmongers Diplomacy. Things like Viscerai, things like anything that plays a lot of non-attacks and attacks. We'd want Warmongers Diplomacy. We don't play any other non-attacks in our deck, even in our sideboard, so we're always going to end up saying War. And it's a blue block 3 that costs 0, which means we get some really good value out of it in Katsu. We can easily just go up this over a Winds of Eternity, a Dishonor, a Lord of Wind. Some amount of blues can come down for these. We're not losing all too much. And then finally, 2 Razor Reflex and the third Mugenshi release. This is just in the deck so we can guarantee that we land a Mugenshi hit versus the matchups that we need it. Any super slow matchup that might try to fatigue us, Razor Mugenshi is really good against. Also, something like Enigma, Razor Mugenshi is pretty good because that game might go a little late, and also Razor can help us guarantee we destroy some of their auras, and the Mugenshi can help us have that really good late game turn if they don't have a board or we make them block or something like that. So with that, that is going to be the end of the video. Retrace the Past looks to be an incredible tool for Katsu, and I'm hoping that it finally makes him playable again. Because even though I love playing Acilio, I do want to play other decks. I want to enjoy a wide variety, and Katsu just has not been the best. Although, at least 5 might just be an absolute banger, not even seeing the cards in the Hunted. It's a Draconic Ninja set, and 5 honestly doesn't need much to become a meta deck again, so maybe we'll all just bow down to our Phi Overlord once we see some more of the cards in the set. But with all of that, again, that is going to be the end of the video. I hope you all enjoyed, and I hope you all have a good day. I will see you in the next one, and I hope your Christmas was good. This will be uploaded day after because I upload on Thursdays. I hope you had a good Christmas, and I hope you have a good New Year. Goodbye.